Great. So, welcome everybody to the Multiple Myeloma Warrior podcast. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Noose with Polygon Health. We are the tech platform for the Multiple Myeloma Warriors group. And what we're doing is connecting patients to resources that will help them. And our goal is really to help patients optimize their multiple myeloma journey and help researchers improve medications and ultimately find a cure for this disease. So, with that introduction, and now I want to introduce my guest for today, Bill from Pennsylvania. Bill, do you want to introduce yourself and get started?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Bill Oleksak. I'm 76 years old, and I live in Ford City, Pennsylvania, which is about 40 miles north of Pittsburgh. My wife, Kathy, and I have just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. We have two children, my son, Bill, who, along with his wife, are local physicians, and our daughter, Julie, who lives in Black Mountain, North Carolina, with her husband, Kenny, and our granddaughter, McKenna. I was a teacher, fifth grade science teacher for 35 years, had what I thought was the greatest job in the world, teaching 10-year-olds science. I've also been a healthy person almost all of my life, always involved in sports, whether it was baseball, basketball, football, hockey, went into softball as I got a little bit older. And in 1974, I took up running, and I fell in love with running. I have kept a log ever since. I have over 46,000 miles that I ran, 12 marathons, triathlons, and lived a healthy lifestyle. Things were going good. And about 2010, all of a sudden, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I thought, whoa, what's going to happen with this? Fortunately, my doctor at my son's practice got me into Shadyside Hospital in Pittsburgh, and they did a radical prostatectomy, and everything turned out good, and I've been cancer-free from that. A couple of years later, my wife got breast cancer, and we went through that. And fortunately, using our doctor son, got us opened a few doors and got her taken care of, and she's been cancer-free ever since. We were living normally, and March of 2018, we were down at my daughter's in North Carolina, and I was going to run a 5K race. Right before the race, I bent down to tie my shoe, and I felt this weird feeling on my side. And I told my son-in-law, Kenny, I think I just pulled an oblique muscle. So I went ahead and ran the race, came in second in my age group, being 70 years old at that time, and thought, okay, it was a tough course, hilly, I'm older, sure, I'm going to be sore. The pain got a little bit worse the next day and the next day and the next day. Used some heating pads, used some Tylenol, drove 525 miles home. I was okay. I got back home, and the pain really subsided. It was just like normal running pains. And a few weeks later, I was playing golf, and I was in the cart behind my buddies. My buddy dropped a towel and didn't know about it. I was driving the cart. I reached down. Son of a gun, I did it again. 4 more holes. I played 4 more holes, no big deal. And then again, it got sore and sore and sore. And then eventually, by me taking it easy and the Tylenol and the heating pad, it went away. Couple days later, I went to pick up my garage door. Bam. Holy mackerel, the other side. I'm thinking, what's going on here? And again, the whole summer, I'm going through clearing up pain. And in a routine physical, my doctor found that my protein level spiked a little bit. And he didn't like that. And he said, the insurance companies don't like this, he says, but I'm going to try this. I want one more test. And he took a test, and my son and daughter-in-law came to the house and said, Dad, your test didn't come out the way we were hoping. So they referred me to an oncologist, and I had the bone biopsy, a PET scan, all those things. And in about November, that was in October, I had the physical. In November, it was verified that I had multiple myeloma. And of course, like I would assume everybody, I scanned the internet for multiple myeloma, saw the good things, saw the bad things. And that's when my son came in and said, "Dad, you're depressed." And that was really a good thing for him. He could see I was different. I didn't realize it. I was just thinking, probably always on my mind, what the heck's going to happen to me? And my wife, same thing. But he saw that and he said, "You're depressed." And when he said that, it really opened my eyes to, hey, get your head out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let's go. We're gonna attack this. We're gonna fight this. We'll be okay.
Right.
Because every time things have happened to me with the prostate, Kathy's breast cancer, things turned out okay.
Right.
And I trust the doctors. So I was then, how was it? That was in November.
What year was this, Bill?
I had back pain, and this was 2018.
18. Okay.
2018. So my back was sore, and I was referred to the oncologist at our local hospital in Katanning, Pennsylvania, 3 miles away from Ford City. So very convenient. And I kept telling Dr. Benjamin at the time, I said, my back is really sore, and I'm having a little bit chest pains. It feels weird. I went out jogging one day, and I felt this strange feeling in my chest. So I actually stopped and walked, thinking, this is not right. And she was giving me steroids and creams and things. And this is probably something that's very important. And I saw it on some of the other podcasts. Our oncologists they're experts in everything, but not experts in certain things.
Right.
These, to me, were prime signals that something's wrong since you have multiple myeloma.
Right.
And we went on, and it didn't get much better. And then I'll never forget the date. It was December 4th, 2018. I got out of bed. I took 4 steps, and I thought I was having a heart attack.
Wow.
My chest just felt like it was caving in. I gently was able to get some clothes on, painfully went downstairs and sat by our bar where I'm sitting right now, and didn't know what to do. And my wife says, "You want me to call the ambulance?" I said, "No, this will go away."
Right.
And finally I said, "Call the ambulance." They came in, they hooked me up with all the heart monitors, and they're saying, "Oh, your heart looks so strong. I don't know what's going on." I says, "I don't either, but get me to the hospital." Putting me on the gurney was excruciating pain. We got in the ambulance. They're giving me nitroglycerin, and this is standard SOP for the EMTs. And finally, I get up to the hospital. They put me into the emergency room, and I'm laying there. And when I'm laying motionless, no pain. But then they wanted to pick me. They wanted me to get an MRI and a CT. So they picked me up and put me, and it just hurt so bad. My son said, "I've never heard you in so much pain."
Wow.
And that was on a Tuesday, and I was on a pain drip the whole time, there. And finally on Thursday, they said, "We found out you have a compression fracture, and we want to do a kyphoplasty." And they told me what it was, and I said, they could have told me anything. Yeah, if it's going to help, do it. And I went down there and had that done, and it was almost like instant relief. I hadn't been out of bed in 3 days, and they wheeled me up, and they said, "Do you want us to lift you into bed?" I said, "No, let me try it." And I got up and got in bed, and then I was able to walk, around the hospital. And I would just, just don't. If anybody has the chance to get that,
Right.
it's the thing to do.
Excellent.
So, and then it took me probably 6 weeks to feel really, really good, no pain after the kypo, and they took me down to. I was scheduled for a consultation down in West Penn Hospital in Pittsburgh. So my son and daughter-in-law and my wife and I are ready to go down. It's nerve-wracking when you hear what they're going to tell you, what you have and what's going to happen. So we're on our way down. And wouldn't you know it, it was one of those mornings where we had a little bit of snow, and the one bridge that we had to cross was black ice. We're crossing it, doing a great job. And my daughter-in-law, who was driving my car, said, "Here comes a truck. We're going to get hit." And we got hit from behind and totaled the front end of my car. So we had to call down and cancel that. So you think, oh my gosh, I don't want to put this off any longer. But then a week later, we went down and talked to Dr. Sadashiv, really great guy. And it was like a 4-hour consultation. There was a nurse navigator, financial aid, psychiatrist, the whole team. And when he was finished, he says, stage 3, 92% involvement. And I just went, whoa. And he said to me, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "I don't have any questions." I says, "But I'm really pissed off." And he looked at me, he says, "What do you mean?" I says, "I've worked all my life to stay healthy, do the right thing, and this happened." And he said, "It's going to work in your favor." And boy, did that make me feel good. He says, we're going to get you okay. Then my wife says, he wants to run, he wants to swim, he wants to golf, he wants to do all this. What can he do?
Right.
And Dr. Sadashiv says, he could do anything he wants, just don't do anything stupid. Oh, right there. Bill, Michelle, Kathy, they all just slapped their heads. He says, how's he going to know stupid? He says, when he does it. So, those exchange of words were so good,
right,
on his part. I don't know if he realized about what he did for me, really, really helped out. So then all my treatments were going to be, my pre-transplant treatments were going to be at Katanning. So like I said, very, very convenient. They put me on decks, devil decks that keeps you awake all night.
Right.
Yeah. And I was getting the Velcade shot.
Yep.
And that gave me a little bit of, the only thing about Velcade is the neuropathy.
Right.
And I still have that in my fingers. And then we started on Revlimid. Right. And I tolerated Revlimid really, really well until one time I woke up, and it was, the best way I can explain this is, it was like I had dandruff on my face. I just started like not peeling, but just my skin got so dry. And I called up our local pharmacist, who always makes himself available, and he said, use a moisturizer. And he said, we're probably going to lessen the dose. And they knocked it down a little bit, and I can't remember what it was, but it really was good. Okay, then fast forward, and let's see, March, they started the harvesting of my stem cells. And I had my daughter-in-law, Michelle, she administered the Darxio to get those stem cells moving. I had to get those 5 shots, one every day, before we went down. We went down to West Penn, and when they started taking the stem cells out, the first time they didn't get enough. So that night they just gave me another shot, and bam, the next day, that shot, it really worked. Right. It really worked. So they, about 2 weeks later, they called and says, okay, we're ready. We're ready for the transplant. So I got down to Pittsburgh, and what's really nice about West Penn Hospital, it's in the Bloomfield section of Pittsburgh. They have a partnership with the Hyatt House, which is 3 blocks away. And that's where they put the multiple myeloma and other, I guess, other patients who had to be there. I had to be there every day once this process started. And being 42 miles away, they said, no, because I'd have to be there at 8 o'clock, early and that. So they kept me there, and there was a shuttle service. So we just parked our car, never had to move it. And the shuttle took us along with a couple other myeloma patients. So I got my introduction to melphalan. And that was the drug that kills all the cancer cells. And I don't know if I heard this. I think I heard it on one of the other podcasts, but they said to avoid getting the mouth sores and the throat sores, we want you to chew on ice chips. So I had ice chips in my mouth for about 3 hours. I didn't want to see any more ice after that, but it worked. It worked. And it's a simple thing. He said, I said, what does this do? And he said, it closes your capillaries. And, the melphalan doesn't get into the bloodstream, and it works. So if anybody's watching this and they tell you about the ice chips, do it.
That's okay.
It really works good.
So wait, so Bill, quick question here. So when you, because I know you're in remission now, right?
Yes.
But you had achieved remission before, relapsed, and then are in remission now. So when you're talking about going on the melphalan, had you achieved remission by this point, or is this your first on the road to your first remission?
This was on the road. Yeah, this was in March, and I was diagnosed in November. Got it. Then. And they called me up and said, hey, we're ready. Come on down for the transplant. And I went down, and they hooked me up to the machines. And somebody says, how in the heck does that work? I says, well, I don't, when they harvest, they take out my stem cells. And one girl she said they sprinkled fairy dust on it. I said they did some kind of voodoo on mine. I don't know, to make it work. But I didn't know what was going on, But on April 3rd, and I thought that was kind of interesting because they call it a rebirth. My dad's birthday was April 4th. And I thought, boy, that's, Dad's watching me. He's looking down, and he's going to get me through this. And the transplant was 2 sessions. They put 7 bags in the morning, took a break for lunch, and then 7 bags in the afternoon. And that was it. Long day, fatigue simply because laying around all day, not doing too much. They kept me in the hospital there for a couple of days, and my wife rolled her eyes because as we were walking to the room, I saw a sign on the wall. It says 10 laps around the wing is a mile. I said, all right. So there I was
going for
carrying my infusion bag and stand. And I told the nurses, every time I pass your station, you mark it down. Nice. And so I was getting my mileage in. And then, and maybe it's because, once you get into running like I did, you almost feel compelled to run. You want to run, you enjoy it. So when I would go back we had to go every morning for blood work, hydration, talk to the doctor and all that. Every time we'd go back to the Hyatt House, I would walk in the parking lot or in the hallway and just, half a mile compared to, before running 5 and 6 miles, walking a half a mile. And that really, really helped out. Really showed me that I still do things. So I was in, we went through watching my numbers go down, 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 till we hit what they called the basement. And that's where I was, as low as I could possibly go, which is where they wanted it, because then it starts building up. And slowly but surely, those numbers started building up and building up and building up. And almost every time the Dr. Sadishev would come in, it was a positive experience. And that's what you want. I didn't have any setbacks while we were going through that. I did lose my hair. It took me, I think, 18 days before everything came out. And I had my head buzzed anyway. And I didn't realize I was going to lose any more until I'm sitting there looking at my shirt, and my beard is starting to fall out. So I'm pulling it out like that. And, you know, I felt kind of bad, because when Kathy lost her hair, it was really traumatic for her.
Oh,
And me, I took a picture, sent it to my granddaughter. She didn't recognize me. You know, we kind of laughed at it. I was able to laugh. And then she says, "I can't believe you laugh at stuff." And I said, "You know what? Sometimes laughing hides fear."
I love that.
You know, I says, I'm nervous. I'm still nervous. But sometimes if I make a joke and someone laughs, or you laugh, or I can laugh, that means a lot. Mental approach in this journey is so important. They talk about physical, but mental is so important.
Yeah, and I think I just want to sort of underscore that point, because we had talked prior, and it's just, you have such a positive mindset. Maybe you could give people some tips of like how, just like you were mentioning, how can they be more positive, and then maybe connect sort of like with the caregivers and the support system that you have. How does it all work together to create more positivity?
I think what you can do is go back in time and think of things that you like. Think of things that make you feel good. Kathy loves craft. She loved crafting. So when she was, going through her tough times, she would make Afghans for the sick. Little things like that. And for me, running is, a big part of my life. My one friend who suffers from, he has rheumatoid arthritis, really bad. He's one of my marathon buddies. He and I would go out walking, and we'd talk it over. We'd say, "Hey, you know what? We're out here doing it. There's people my age." And I was going through my 70s, 71, 72, 73. I says, I look at my buddies, and some of them, they look so much older than me. It just dwelling on what you like to do. And even though I could only go out and walk a half a mile at a time, or 1 mile, I was doing it. My motto was, not as fast, not as far, but still doing it. And you and I talked about some of the other Facebook sites. There's a lot of them that really, really help out.
Right.
A lot of things that help out, and it's nice to hear. But like I said, to dwell on the good times.
Yep.
And I hope from this podcast and other ones, people realize that this journey that we're on with multiple myeloma, it's going to have its downs.
Right.
It's going to have some tough times. But for me, now in the over 5 years, it's been a lot of good times. I've been able to do things that we always did before and live a normal life.
Excellent. Amazing advice, and way to give, folks hope. So just before we move on from the treatments, right? So you took Dex, you took Velcade, you took Revlimid, you took Melphalan, and so when did you get remission, and then how did the relapse and then back to remission work, and like which drugs worked for you and didn't at some point?
Well, I would have to say that all the drugs worked for me. The only side effect I had was with the Dex. I didn't realize that it took away your sleep. And once I realized that, and once I talked to our pharmacist up at Katanning, he said, you know what? He says, make the best of it. So what I did is I planned for being up all night. I DVR'd boxing matches. At that time, I was in the process. I'm a member of the Ford City Lions Club, and I was and I'm sort of I'm sort of the historian of our town. I published a book on Ford City, and I know a lot of the history. And I was in the process of doing a set of historical panels for our Rails to Trails. And I would just wait till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and that's when I would do it. I'd keep myself busy, and then no sleep at all. But Thursday, I was like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, the decks really kicked in. I'd go outside and I'd cut grass, and I'd ask my neighbor, "You want me to cut your grass?" Kathy would say, "Why don't you back off?" I says, "I didn't even realize I was doing it." So I sort of made it into a game. I did, and then eventually I was off of it. But that's the way I almost approached this whole thing. I hate to make it seem like it's trivial, but I almost made it into a game that I enjoyed playing, if you can understand enjoying what I was going through.
Understood. And when we think about sort of the highs and the lows with respect to your care team, is there anything you want to call out in terms of that journey, the interplay between you and the providers and the care team, and just sort of best practices, what people can bring to the table with their own care team, and what to look out for, what to question, that sort of
thing? After I had a prostate operation, wasn't much of a caregiving that Kathy had to do. But when she went through her breast cancer, there was quite a few. And we would get into arguments, disagreements, because, I didn't know how she was feeling, and I didn't know what to do. And that's the same with the multiple myeloma. We were at the Hyatt House for 19 days. So that's where she was with me for 19 days in a suite that the Hyatt House set up for myeloma patients. We had the sink and the stove and the microwave and all that. And I don't think too many people are that close together with their spouses for that much time. We're always together. And there was a couple times when fatigue set in, and I just wanted to sleep. And she said, "That's not you. Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, just leave me alone." And I had even mentioned down at West Penn, they should have seminars for caregivers, because you go in blind. You don't know what to say, what to do, how to hold in your frustrations. She was frustrated that she felt like she wasn't doing enough. And then what my son suggested is for my daughter Julie to come up and spend a week with me, so Kathy could get home and just decompress. And that was a great idea. Not only did it help Kathy, but it helped Julie be a part of the journey. And she talks about that to this day. "I didn't know what you were going through, Dad, because all we were doing is FaceTiming, texting." She says, "I got to spend that time with you, and I saw how you were reacting to things." And she laughed when the one morning we went into West Penn, and you have to hit the button, they open the doors, and as I walked through with her, the nurses go, "Bill!" It was like Norm going into Cheers. She almost was down to her knees laughing. She said, "This is great." And I said, "Well," "we have fun. We have fun." Yeah.
That's
But
fantastic.
the caregiving, as much as I was the one going through
Right.
the tough times, Kathy had some.
Right.
She had a lot of frustrations.
Understood. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard on the whole family.
It is. And now what I do is when Bill or Michelle have a multiple myeloma patient,
Right.
they tell that patient what that I have it,
Right.
and they'll say, "Contact him,"
Mhm.
and we'll get together and talk not only to the patient, but to the spouse or who's going to be the caregiver. And Kathy gives her a lot of advice.
Right. No, that's great. And are there any?
It is important that you don't make it worse than what it is.
Oh,
You're going through some tough times. I was going through some tough times,
right,
physically and mentally. She was going through some tough times, both physically. She was worn out.
right.
And you don't want to reach that point where you just throw up your hands and say, "I can't do this."
Right, right. No, the great points. And so in terms of like mistakes that you learned from, I'm sure there's many, but if you think back to getting, you talked about how there were these warning signs that you just sort of, you took some pain relievers and then going to the physician and then ultimately getting to a specialist. How, what would you change in that trajectory to get diagnosed faster, to learn faster? Um, that you ended up doing, but you wish you did earlier.
What I did is, and I had mentioned to you that I've kept a log on all my running.
Right.
Well, I journaled
Okay.
from the time I was diagnosed, and I'm still doing it.
Wow.
I've journaled this, and I see patterns.
Yeah.
Now I recognize patterns that I wish I would have recognized back then.
Right.
I guess when you're diagnosed with something like this, I think I would tell people to talk to their PCP and say, I'd like to see a specialist rather than just an oncologist, because I feel now, looking back and hearing from other people and seeing what I went through, all those what I called muscle pulls were typical signs.
Right.
They were typical signs. And thank goodness, when my doctor found the protein was raising, that's when he referred me down to a hematologist down in Penn. But and I think I saw that in a couple of the other podcasts where they say the oncologists they just don't know exactly. Like
Exactly.
Dr. Benjamin was giving me steroids and gels and telling me to take Tylenol and all that, and that was masking it.
Excellent. Excellent. So yes, get to AMM specialist as soon as you can, because the local oncologist, doesn't know everything about this specific disease.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not their fault.
No, it's not.
It just they can't be a specialist in everything.
Right. And you are your best advocate, right? And you know what you want. So you have to advocate for yourself and get to the place you need to be, because they have, as many patients as the eyes can see. And you are a patient of yourself. So you have to get to where you need to go.
And it's not unusual. You trust your doctor and you think what they tell you, but you're right. If something is happening, like I went that whole summer breaking ribs, I should have said, but I didn't know I was breaking ribs.
Exactly.
I should have said, this isn't working. Something's wrong.
Right. Nobody's
lower
back,
not only the ribs, but lower back pain is another thing that, if it doesn't go away, that's a warning sign.
So this is great. I think there's a lot of great takeaways from this, and we're gonna pull those out. But like, if we have to wrap up, Bill, and we say like the biggest takeaway that you can give an MM patient, or something you always say to people who you find have MM, what is the thing that Bill wants to imprint on people about how to best navigate this?
I want you to be very aware of what's happening to you so you can tell the doctor. If you don't feel like you're getting satisfaction, say you want to take it to another level.
Yep.
And when you hear the bad news, it's not the end of the world. The doctors are doing a great job. Where they have come in multiple myeloma treatment is incredible. When I started to relapse, I said to the doctor, I says, what's going to happen? Am I going to have to get another stem cell transplant? He says, no, we have lots of things that will take care of that. In that tone of voice. And that made me feel so good. And that's the key. And I hope I hope you get a doctor who has that kind of an attitude. But and stay positive. Talk about it. I'm giving you a lot of things here, but talk about it. Be positive. If you have a setback, they'll attack it and they'll take care of you. It's going to be okay. And when I went into my relapse, I was almost ready to see what would happen.
Right.
What happened for me is I was having back pain again. No, no big deal. I was still swimming laps, walking. I don't run anymore. Wish I could, but
Right.
I don't. But I sneezed, knocked me to my knees.
Yep.
And I said to Kathy right away, compression fracture.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to start radiation. They did radiation, didn't work.
Mm.
And by luck, the radiologist says, what do you want to do? And I says, I want a kyphoplasty. She says, let me call over to the hospital. It just so happened that the surgeon only was in Katanning Hospital 2 days a month, and he was there.
Mm.
And he said, I can fit him in tomorrow morning.
No.
And that, I got the kyphoplasty, went through the 6-8 weeks of, recovery.
Right.
And I was able to start playing golf. I'm swimming laps. I swam 12 laps this morning. I'm really good. I'm in remission now. I'm good. The journaling to me really helped because it showed me exactly what I went through. And I said, here's what we're going to do. So, you take care of yourself.
Excellent. And you're going to be okay. So with
I
that,
am going to be okay.
we appreciate, all of this sage advice. Really, Bill, this is going to help a lot of people. And, we wish you all the best, on your road to staying in remission.
Yeah.
And, say thank you to your family and everybody who's gotten you to where you've gotten to. And we appreciate everything you're doing.
Well, I really appreciate you guys doing this. The way you got, I don't know if you realize how they got in touch with me, but I had a video of myself swimming and I posted it on the Facebook site. And I said, I'm 76 years old, just got back into remission. And, the winter months, I get out in the pool and I swim. And I got so many nice comments from the people who saw that post.
Yeah.
And then you guys contacted me, and here we are.
Here we are.
I've also been quoted in the Throwing Bones Facebook site. So it makes me feel good.
Excellent.
And that's the key. Make yourself feel good.
Excellent. And let's stay connected, Bill. This is a great story.
We will. Yeah. And thanks for telling me about Multiple Myeloma Warriors. I will get on that.
Very much so. All right. Take care, everyone. Till the next time.
Happy Lent. Okay.